Hello, my name is Big Blue. I am a League of Legends player, just like you. I've decided to create a tier list for ranked teams aimed towards silver players. As the season is coming to a close, I was thinking about how a lot of players are probably wanting to get those victorious awards, and I know that they're not easy to get when you're a silver player because a lot of other teams that are playing for these awards are gold or higher, so it's easy to get shit on. I feel that a lot of silver players can get into certain traps, and hopefully this tier list will help you get that little bit you need to get those awards for the end of the season. Who am I? Well, my YouTube channel is Big Blue, but my actual in-game name is Blue. I am a Platinum player. I've been Platinum 3 for last season, and at the end of the season, this I am also Plat 3. I've been playing less on my main, but I have been focused on getting about 5 Smurfs to gold and platinum. So I have right now 3 accounts in gold and 2 accounts in platinum, including my main. And over these past 4 or 5 months, I've been playing in gold, silver, and platinum. I have observed a lot of differences between the tiers, and I thought rather than giving you the information from a challenger point of view, where all they're doing is just spamming games with champions that they know and have played for well, not years, but a long time at a very, very high level, I'd give you some information that's a little more tangible for players at a lower skill, as I am not so high up on a ladder. I have a lot different types of picks. When you're creating a ranked team, this is my opinion, obviously, I class my picks into 4 sections: good, situational, bad, and special. The first 3 are easily explainable, but special, I'll go over that later. Okay, good picks. Good picks for me are champions that are always consistent. That means when I pick this champion, I know what it's going to do, and 90% of the time, it's going to fill the role that I need it to. Even if you're a shit player, you're going to be able to farm as Orianna. Even if you're a shit player, you're going to be able to deal some damage as Lucian. And that's where easy farming comes in. Champions like Orianna and Lucian are very, very good at farming. Not because they can clear waves fast, but because they are very safe at clearing waves. So that's also something that I think is really important for silver players to have an impact in the game, which is where mid-game and late game comes in. When you're in silver and you're trying to get better in the game, it's better to pick champions that are very, very good in the mid and late game, because in this meta, the way Riot has designed the game, it's a lot easier to do good when your champion is aimed towards the mid or late game. Having a strong early game is obviously important, but falling off is, I'd say, it's a really bad thing. And falling off just means that you're not going to have an impact unless you really, really have snowballed the early game, which is something that I think silver players struggle at a lot, which is where engage comes in, and that's why we're in engage, engage, engage. In silver, I see a lot of hesitation. This is why I always cringe when I see certain picks, like for support. I don't want to see that Blitzcrank. I don't want to see that Soraka. I don't want to see that Fiddlesticks. These are champions which don't have great engage. Yes, Blitzcrank has his hook, but it's not dependable. It's not consistent engage. It's not like a Thresh hook. It's not, well, it is similar to Thresh, but it's not like a Malphite ult. It's not like an Amumu ult. It's not something that every single time someone hits it, the whole team is going to follow up. And that's why I think makes a good pick. And then situational picks. These are completely different game to game. They're never something that I think is consistent game to game. It's something that your team should pick under certain circumstances. First circumstance is countering enemy picks. This is easier said than done. Some picks are very obvious to counter pick. Like if someone's going to pick, let's say, Veigar, you're going to want to pick a jungler that absolutely shits on immobile mids. So picking Vi or Warwick will make it really easy for a silver player to come out of the jungle and get the game rolling. All the AD team comps, this is something I see a lot in low level. People pick Zed, people pick Chase, people pick Yasuo. These people have no idea how to play these champions at their best level. The problem is with picking Zed, Chase, and Yasuo and other AD mids is that your team comp is really easy to counterpick. So picking champions like Malphite, picking champions like Skarner, picking champions like Leona are really good into all AD team comps. And by all AD, I mean like when you see that they've picked their mid and top and they're both AD champions. Split push strategy. This is something that I think Silver can take good use of because it's a solo strategy. Like you just leave that player and the rest of your team does stuff. Split push only works though if it's practiced. You can't just throw a random player that thinks he's a god at Rengar or Tryndamere up in the top lane because he's not gonna, if he does good at top lane, your team has to have practiced a strategy where you roam as 4 with a constructed team comp. Even if you're solo players, you can do this with a constructed team comp that will allow you to make plays on the other side of the map. Well, the split push obviously applies pressure. Team's needs. So say you're at last pick. You have to pick 2 champions. You've picked 3 already. Say you have no one to peel for you to carry. You've picked Soraka for some... No, not Soraka. You picked Blitzcrank for some fucking reason. And your AD carry and your mid lane have absolutely no peel. And you're left with your jungle and your top lane. You want to pick something that fills what your team needs. And these are situational picks. So obviously, picking Maokai in the jungle isn't the greatest pick. But if your team really needs peel, an easy peeling champion, it's good to pick it, even if it's not the greatest pick for the jungle. And lastly, top picks are taken. So everyone knows when Lee Sin, Elise, Evelynn, and Kha'Zix were the top junglers for a while. If all this is banned or taken, you have to pick stuff that's lower than it, obviously. And picking things that are lower than the top picks is just what you have to do when all the top picks are taken. Simple. Bad picks. These are controversial, I would say, between bad players, because in other ELOs, you can see that Lee Sin is an absolute fucking god in Diamond and in Challenger. He can absolutely wreck games. But in Silver, Lee Sin has a horrible win rate. Lee Sin is not a good champion in Silver. That is a champion that is inconsistent. But that's because he is inconsistent because he has a high skill cap. Other champions are inconsistent for other reasons that you don't want to pick them. Champions like Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is good at higher elos, but he's bad at lower. He's bad at lower because it relies on the mid laner knowing how to use his ult effectively with the team. It's inconsistent. He provides a point-and-click stun and a lot of damage. I'd much rather pick Rise over Twisted Fate. It requires less skill and he deals more damage while building tankier items. Well, not more damage, but a similar amount of damage. Other similar champions are better. If you are mid lane and you have the choice of picking Syndra or you have the choice of picking Brand, 100% always pick Syndra. Why? 100% stun, not 100% stun, but your stun is a lot easier to hit, so it's a lot easier to escape. So picking champions that are basically worse versions of a better champion, it's just something you shouldn't do. It's similar for Sejuani. Sejuani's ult is godly, but Amumu's ult is also very godly. Amumu's ult is a lot easier to hit, however, and it's a lot easier for Amumu to come out of the jungle and do his job for silver players. So picking similar champs to the better champs is a bad thing. Better for other roles. You are playing top lane. Why would you pick Kha'Zix in the top lane when you can pick Kha'Zix in the jungle? Because it's so much stronger in another role, it's not worth picking in that other role. It's basically a cheese strategy. And cheese is something that I see so much in solo queue. It's okay in solo queue because you can practice it. You can practice the cheese, and it'll be effective over and over and over because solo queue, the teams are not organized. And when they're not organized, it's a lot easier to pull off something which is unexpected. So, say you want to go rumble in the jungle, you can do that because the other enemy team's not coordinated against it. Whereas in ranked teams, the people are, they might not be a lot more coordinated, but there's a much higher chance they will be all on Skype or TeamSpeak and coordinating. So something like a Rumble will not be very effective. No CC. This is something that teams build a lot, I see, in solo queue. And you don't want to build no CC because it allows you to have no engage. So say you have picked a Kali mid, you've picked Shyvana jungle, you picked Lucian AD carry, and Nidalee top. You need to pick Leona support. You need to pick Malphite support. I don't care if Malphite is a shitty support in lane. Your team needs something, so you have to take it. That's why it's good to build an overall CC for your team comp. Special picks. Like I've said about split push, it's not an easy strategy to pull off, like picking 4 champions and just doing basic laning. You have to know what you're doing. So split pushing is something when you're going in to your game as a team, you have to have decided beforehand, I want to play split push, or I want to play split push if they choose a certain champion for top lane or mid lane. It's a lot easier to play split push for top lane, by the way, so because you don't have to switch your players around. OPs. So everyone knows well, not everyone knows, but everyone should remember that's played recently when Master Yi got changed from an AP AD to only AD. He was the most overpowered piece of shit this game's ever seen. And when something like that comes out, you gotta pick ban it. You can't not pick something that is going to absolutely wreck the game, no matter how good or bad the players are. And one-trick ponies. I don't like these for ranked teams, but I know a lot of players that I've talked to in Silver have said that, well, my friend plays the best Aatrox top. Well, frankly, I don't care if he's a good Aatrox top. He shouldn't be picking it, but some cases, I think it's okay for ranked teams to pick your one-trick ponies if you've played them a lot. I want to see that 100 or 200 ranked games on that character this season. I don't want your team picking, I don't know, fucking Fiora top when your team hasn't played it much. Your teammate, whoever this top laner is. I want them to pick something that's consistent every time. Or something that's they're comfortable on and they're consistent. Okay, top lane. Top lane is interesting, I would say, in Silver. A lot of players take Ignite and they just sit top. That's what I see in Silver. I assume it's very similar in ranked teams as well. And I don't think it's hard for Silver players to coordinate over Skype to make dragon calls. All you need to do is pick a champion that has good teleport potential. So they're able to live in lane for this and use teleport once. Once that first teleport is used, you want a champion that can come down to dragon when that second teleport comes up. And getting dragon's a very important objective, I would say, in Platinum, and I assume that when you're on Skype, it's a lot easier to coordinate with when you're Silver. So when you're top lane and you've finished and you've got that second teleport up, you either want to go down to drag when you've recalled and teleport back up the top to save your tower, or you want to go back to lane, push it out, and teleport it down. So picking champions that have very good teleport gang potential is really, really important. I want to pick champions like Maokai. I want to pick people like Arise. These are champions that can come down with teleport and have a big impact on that dragon, or get it for free. Getting for free is great, but a lot of people are hesitant, and I think having teleport and teleporting preemptively or coming down preemptively before their top laner and getting into a fight when you've built a better team comp, because if you follow this, you should have a decent team comp. You can provide your team a snowballing mechanic. You are going to snowball off a dragon if you either get the dragon and rotate to another lane to get the towers, or you force a fight. It's quite easy to force a fight with teleport, because a lot of players will take Ignite top, or they will take Exhaust top. Well, mostly Ignite, but it's really easy to get that dragon with teleport, or force a fight that gets you that dragon after, or gets you that mid tower. And CC potential. I think that top laners, for silver players, it's more important for them to provide a role where they can basically lock down the enemy team. I don't want to see these high damage characters like Riven, like Fiora, like Tryndamere up in the top lane. I don't think these are as effective as picking tanky top laners. They still deal damage. Rise is an exception. He deals a shit ton of damage. But champions like Gnar, champions like Maokai, champions like Alistar, they still deal damage, but they add in a huge amount of CC. Just think about Maokai. He's got that Q, he's got that W, he's got that E. It's amazing for your team. Pick potential. It's different from champion to champion. The champions I put in my top lane tier list for the best picks, some give pick potential, some don't. So champions like Rise, he gives pick potential in the fact that he has flash. But champions like Malphite give pick potential while they do not have flash. And having the option to flash and get that pick is really important. You want to be able to get that flash off and get that pick, because people are really good at getting out of position in silver, so it's easy to abuse your pick potential. Tank potential. I think this is really important in top lane. I think, except for the few OP picks like Rise and Aurelia, you need to pick tanky top lane, because damaged junglers are so much more effective than having a tanky jungler and a damaged top, in my opinion. And having champions like full tank Gnar, hybrid tank Maokai, and hybrid tank Alistar are so good at soaking damage. You really want a top lane that can get into these fights, start the fights for your team, or follow up with your team, and soak that damage while CCing them. I won't go over all my picks in my tier list, but I will gloss over the few good picks and the special picks. Firstly, my bag picks, they are the ones highlighted in green, are champions that I feel fit better in the jungle rather than top lane. I don't think that they have a place being in the top lane. I don't think there's a reason to pick them in the top lane other than to take them away from an enemy that you know will pick them. But that only happens in Challenger or Diamond, because you know the people you're playing against over stream or something. Okay, so first getting to good picks. I think that Lulu, Alistar, Rise, Gnar, Maokai, Aurelia, and Malphite are the absolute best picks for top lane for silvers. So, Lulu, great wave clear, great damage, great teleport potential. Lulu's ability to be a lane bully while still being able to peel and provide CC is amazing. I think that she is great for top lane. I think she's a champion that your teammates should know in the top lane. I think she's a champion that really makes it easy to get a lot of farm and really easy to teleport down to that dragon or that Baron or the bot lane and get at least one kill and then the dragon, or just get that dragon. Alistar, I think he has a lot harder laning than Lulu and Gnar and Ryze on this list, but he, even with his nerfs, I think he's really effective in silver. You just need to go into a custom game and practice his Q combo. It's not that hard. It's just if you're lagging, it's really hard, and it's really hard when you have practice it. So I'd say go in a custom game and practice with someone in your team for a few games, not a few games, but for like 10 minutes doing your WQ combo, and you'll probably get it down pat. Alistar's ult is goddamn amazing for tower diving, so it's really easy to roam down from top lane and get that tower dive to get that mid tower, or go down to bot lane and be able to perform the tower dive as you teleport into their lane. As well as his ability to peel and engage is amazing. You don't need flash in Alistar. With a Triforce or with... You don't even need Triforce. With Mercury Treads, it's really easy to just WQ into someone on the enemy team, and your whole team can follow up on that. Ryze is just ridiculous. I fucking hate this champion. Easy to play, you just spam your fucking skills, and really easy to farm with, really easy to get your damage off. The only thing that I think Ryze has trouble with in silver is positioning. So I don't mean in fights, I mean in lane. You need to buy wards as Ryze. You will get shit on as Ryze if you don't buy wards, because it's very easy to gank a Ryze when you're in silver, because say you don't see their jungler coming into lane as the enemy moves up. It's really hard to escape without flash. That said, he's very good at turning around ganks with his high damage once it gets to, I don't know, level 7 or something, but still, it's really important to buy wards as Ryze. And using your ult effectively, I think, is really important as Ryze. You want to be able to press that R when you teleport down to Dragon or bot lane and get the kills, because it gives you that speed boost that lets you catch up early game. And yeah, he just deals a fuckload of damage while being unkillable. It's super annoying. I hate this champion. But I still think he's really good. Gnar, this is a champion that has benefited from everyone else's nerfs, because Gnar has not been nerfed at this point, as I'm aware of, since his release. Gnar is great. He's easy-ish to use, easy to build, because I think the best thing about Gnar is the fact that he brings so much CC to the table, and he also makes it easy for bad players. Okay, silver players aren't bad, but they just make a lot of mistakes. Silver players to get a solid lane phase and then transfer into this, let's say, Malphite late game. Late game, you basically turn into a Malphite. You go in and you CC everyone, and you deal a decent amount of damage. Gnar's ult is amazing. Gnar's Q is amazing. Gnar's jump is amazing. He's absolutely great in the late game for Baron fights, for picks, for anything. But his Q in lane, you need to practice that a little bit, I'd say, before you pick him. He's not the easiest champion in lane, because his last hitting is relying on auto attacks. So practicing his Q to clear waves properly is, I'd say, it's pretty important. Maokai is a great champion. I think everyone knows that. You kind of just sit in lane versus a champion, and you heal through your passive, and when you see an enemy, you press W and you go in. Maokai, I think the only thing that silver players need to know about Maokai that they don't already know is that if you have a Leona, or if you have a support that wants to go ham, even if it's like a fucking, I don't know, you got a Lulu support or something, your Maokai needs to peel for your AD carry. No matter how shit your AD carry is, or you think he is, without, I know you probably don't want to tell him that, they're going to deal more damage than a Maokai will late game. So using your Maokai effectively to keep the enemy carries off of your AD carry, or your AP carry, it depends who your AP carry is, obviously, is really effective for silver players. I don't need to say about teleport ganks again, you just kind of run into lane and press W. Aurelia, I think, is the only carry top laner, which really is effective in this meta. The fact that she can heal and last hit with Q makes it really easy to farm as Aurelia, which I think a lot of carry top players have trouble with when they fail that first attempt at a kill in lane and don't snowball it. I think Aurelia can come back from that, and Aurelia's item spikes are really important. I think that the fact that she can build Triforce every single game is really good because you can build Sheen, Phage, or Zeal to suit how your lane is going. And obviously, using Aurelia's Q and her tower makes it really easy to farm. She's good to follow up on ganks, and she just deals a lot of damage. I don't think that you need to pick a tanky jungle when you pick Aurelia, because I think Aurelia takes a lot of attention from your team. So you don't need to pick that full tank Zac jungle. I think when you play Aurelia top, the enemy team needs to pay attention to your Aurelia, so much so that your jungler doesn't have to be a full tank to soak the damage. Because I think Aurelia soaked a lot of damage with her Q, with her W, and her ult already. Malphite, this is something that I think shouldn't be picked in Platinum and above, but I think is an absolute god pick in Silver. I think Malphite's ult, despite his not horrible lane phase, but his basically immobile lane phase, his ult is game changing. His ult is basically a Moo ult, but a lot easier to use. You can't really fuck it up because it's really hard for Silver players to flash a Malphite ult, because Malphite ult, I think it's 1 second between the time he casts it and the time he gets there. 1.5, I don't know, at max. And basically his ult makes teleport ganks really easy to pull off, roams really easy to pull off. None of these other picks in the top lane are anything like Malphite. He has a point and click AoE stun. It's amazing because creating picks in Silver, I think, is really important, because you can get these picks off, and then these picks basically snowball your game. No matter how bad you are at taking objectives, if you can get picks, they basically force your team to group up and get objectives off of it. Situational picks, I will not go over those. Bad picks, all I need to say is about how the green ones need to be picked in jungle rather than top lane. Split push, I've said about that already. All I think is that Teemo is a great split pusher, and he's actually a champion that is really good in Silver, but you need to practice that. Jungle, I think having champions that can walk into lane and get a free gank off is really important. As your coordination isn't great in Silver, even on Skype, having a champion that can just walk into the lane and perform a gank without any actual skill, yes, without any actual skill is really, really effective, because getting a kill in lane can snowball your carries. It can get you a tower. It can get you that free dragon. Having really good gank potential, I think, is really important. Damage potential. This is what I said about the top lane. Having a champion like Vi, having a champion like Kha'Zix, having a champion like, well, not Lee Sin. Okay, just having high damage champions, I think, is really good. Building damage on Vi, I think, as an example, is really great, because your ganks will be really effective, and into the late game, your team needs to blow up the people that you pick off, because I think that's the most effective strategy in Silver. I've said it a bunch of times, just picking people off. CC potential. Obviously, team fights are going to occur, so having a lot of champions that provide free CC, such as Kha'Zix and Warwick, is great. Tank potential, that is also another thing that you have to think about. Obviously, you're not going to build 6 damage items on your Vi or your Warwick. You want to build 3 damage items, 4 damage items max, and then straight into tank. Farm speed, I think, as shown by LCS, in the current meta, it's really important to have champions that can clear fast. But despite that, some champions are also great despite their farm speed, such as Warwick. Dragon and Baron speed, I think this is not an important thing in the jungle, but it's something that you obviously might want to factor in. as those champions like Kha'Zix and Elise have great clear times for Dragon and Baron because they can do percent damage. They can get a lot of attacks off. They don't have to high cooldowns on their skills. Dueling potential, I don't think you'll get invaded that much in Silver, but if you do, I think it's important to have champions that don't get absolutely shit on. So champions like Nautilus and Sejuani. You can walk in the jungle and pretty much just press your Q, E, W, and you'll shit on them. You don't have to be any good. But champions like Kha'Zix, you can't just walk into the jungle and hit a Kha'Zix. It's not easy. So having good dueling potential, I think, is good. So there's my tier list. Jungle, Kha'Zix. I think we all know why Kha'Zix is good. You can go invisible, you can jump in, you can CC, and deal a fuckload of damage. That's what you do. Kha'Zix's ability to take Dragon and Baron fast is great, but his ganks are not as easy as some of the other champions on this list. And the fact that you can be versatile with your Q, E, and W, as in what you need to pick, is really good. As in regards to upgrading his skills, I think that taking his W first, no matter what, it's really, really good in Silver. You don't upgrading your E first requires that you get the perfect kill off. You perform the kill perfectly as you can get in and out, because you do not deal as much damage as if you upgrade your R, W, or Q. So I think it's too risky for Silver players, but I think that Q is also not as good as E. So if you don't want to upgrade your W, upgrade E. W, why I think it's great. Some teams go absolutely blank when they're picking. They forget to get wave clear. So upgrading W gives you wave clear if your team's getting pushed in. It also gives you AoE CCs. So say you don't have the greatest aim, which Silver players don't because some lag. Some of them just don't. Some of you just don't have the greatest aim. Hitting your W is a lot easier when there's three of them, just to put it simply. Building Kha'Zix, I think that it's really important to get Lizard Elder into, I guess Brutalizer. You just want to get Brutalizer. It's really important because that gives you that mid-game power. It gives you that Dragon power spike, basically. For that Dragon fight, you will have that Brutalizer. It will give you the cooldown reduction. It will give you that burst of damage that you need to get past these top laners that potentially have built, well, not a random ones, but say a Giant's Belt and a Chain Vest. Vi. Vi is very simple. I just say that you walk. All you need to know about Vi is that you walk into lane and you press Alt before you press Q. The only reason to press Q is to cancel out abilities that can jump away. So say you are versus not Ahri, I don't know. Say you got some retard that's gone Lee Sin mid. You can cancel out his W by hitting your Q. Or someone that's playing Tristana, you can cancel their jump with your Q. That is the only reason to start Q on your gank is Vi. Otherwise, I think it's really important to start out your gank with ult, unless you can get a free Q off, because it's really risky to go for that Q, because they can just flash away and then they might be outside your ult range after that. As regards to Vi, I think her builds, the great thing about Vi is that Triforce is a viable item on her, and building Triforce means that you can get a lot of small parts that build into something great in the end. You don't have to complete your item immediately, but you can get these small parts despite how the game's going. So you can go Lizard Elder into Triforce immediately, or if you go Lizard Elder into Phage and then the game starts turning sour, you don't have to immediately build Triforce. You can switch over to that tank item that you need in that moment. Pantheon, I think Pantheon is really, really great because a lot of people overextend in Silver. So pressing ult on a lane that's overextended is quite easy, to put it simply. Or pressing ult on a team that's doing Dragon is really, really easy. Pantheon suffers from slow clear speed early and not the best duel potential. So make sure your team wards at least a little bit in the early game because Pantheon doesn't have the greatest. And he won't be ganking as fast in top lane at level 3 as other top laners because he clears so slow. So I'll obviously keep that in mind for your top laner. They're going to want to ward at 3 minutes so that you can get up there in time. Amumu, you pick him for the team fights. He has good pick potential, but he also has the goddamn greatest ult in the game. Like, if you could pick an ult in the game to put on any champion, not any champion, but most champions, Amumu ult has to be one of the greatest in the game. His ult is game-changing. His damage is AP, which is rare for jungle. And it just makes it... When you see that ult, and so I think this is something that Silver really needs to improve on, is that when you hit an Morgana bind or something, your team won't immediately follow up like crazy. But if you see that Amumu ult hit, you see that Leona ult hit, your team is going to go apeshit. They're going to go in on that no matter how bad they are, because that Amumu ult really is really obvious when you've CC'd them. It's really obvious when your team is planning to go in. And yeah, I think he's really weak early, so you need to be careful, even more careful in Pantheon, for invades from champions like Kha'Zix or Shyvana or Udyr. Jarvan is harder to play Amumu, but I think he serves the same role as Amumu, but in a more tanky role. His ult, you can fuck it up, obviously, but it's not that hard to fuck up. I think you just need to make sure that you always ult the people coming towards your team, rather than the people that are people in the back. Unless you're ahead, it's really hard to kill people as Jarvan because his damage isn't the greatest. But if you are ahead, obviously ult the back line. If you are behind, you need to use your ult to protect the front line. Jarvan's ult is a powerful tool that can peel as well as keeping your carries past the enemy's front line because it blocks them off. Or blocks them in the Jarvan ult, that too. Rammus, I haven't personally played a lot in the past 2 weeks, but I've heard a lot about how Rammus is up and coming. He's a huge pick at the moment. He's got a high win rate. All the reason I can think that Rammus is being picked is because all the other junglers have been nerfed, and running into lane is super fucking easy. You just press Q and you right-click the enemy champion. Well, right-click around the minions and hit the enemy champion and press taunt. Very simple champion. Very good against all AD. I think Rammus is almost 100%. Not 100%. Other than Malphite, I think Rammus is the champion that you want to pick most when you see the enemy team locking in a full AD team comp, because his options to build are really, really good. Wukong, I think Wukong is a worse version of Amumu, but if your team doesn't need Amumu, I think Wukong is also a good pick, basically. He deals AD damage rather than AP, so say you've got an AP mid or an AP top, I think Wukong is a good pick. Wukong is slow clearing at the beginning of the game, so obviously watch out top lane, because your jungler will not be there in the first 4 minutes. Wukong is, I'd say he is easy to fuck up compared to Amumu, because it's very easy to get caught dashing in because you have to get so close as a Wukong to get your ult off, whereas Amumu can throw out that long range Q. If it doesn't hit, no problem. If Amumu's Q hits, then you know you're going in. Wukong, you have to commit a little bit more to get in for that ult. Warwick, I think Warwick has to be... He's better than Vi. He's better than Kha'Zix. I think he's better than Jarvan. Obviously better than Wukong and Rammus. I think only Amumu is better than Warwick for silver players, because Warwick, you walk into a lane, you press ult, and you kill the enemy laner. That's how you do it. It's not hard. It's simple. It's something that's really important for silver players. It's something simple. Pinging an enemy champion in a team fight is really easy. You just ping and you walk you flash ult. It's really easy to get an ult off as Warwick. Warwick's ability to be tanky as well as healing a shit ton and dealing damage makes him an absolute pain in the ass to kill, because as you have a tank in the top lane to soak damage, Warwick will also be taking damage, but he will also be dealing more damage than, say, your Maokai or your Alistar, even your Gnar. Warwick will deal a lot of damage whilst living. I think that is what makes him so powerful, because his ult is basically a Vi ult that is instant and he doesn't die like Vi does. Farm picks. I think farm picks are really good in Silver because obviously people are not the best at ending games. So having a champion that can come out of the jungle at 25 minutes with 120 farm and a Feral Flare and completed boots is absolutely amazing. A fully stacked flare, not fully stacked flare, fully stacked wriggles, obviously. I think Udyr, Shyvana, Master Yi each fill different roles that your team might want. Shyvana can build full tank, Master Yi can build crit, and Udyr can be a split pusher. Better than Master Yi, I'd even say, because Master Yi wants to focus on those team fights in a ranked 5 match, because your team will go in and Master Yi will clean up, basically. Mid lane, I think the mid lane, I haven't played mid lane as much as the other lanes, so I'd say that my advice might not be the perfect on this, but I think I can still give some important points. Mid lane, you want to have good damage. Obviously, it's your first and most important carry role, because it's a carry that gets to the carry potential a lot earlier than AD carry does. You need to have wave clear, I think. I think wave clear is really, really important. Even if you're a Fizz, you're able to wave clear. AP damage, obviously. Your champion is going to be dealing damage that's not AD, and it's a lot easier to stack AD on a team than it is AP. Obviously, champions like Zed and Yasuo can deal AD damage, but I think it's easy to get trapped in an all AD team comp just picking something like Zed because it's the OP pick at the moment. Roam potential, I think that a lot of mid lanes, it's important for them to be able to walk out of lane and either get back quickly and be able to clear wave quickly, or either leave their lane and quickly go down to get a tower, or quickly go up and get a kill. Mid-game power spike, I think this is the most important thing when you get to that dragon fight, when you get to that Baron fight at 30 minutes. Your mid laner will be at a point where they can deal a shit ton of damage, a lot more than your AD carry can do in an instant. Obviously, AD carries can deal as much damage mid-game as a mid laner, but it's not as instant. It's a burst potential, I'd say. In my tier list, I said I'm not the best person to ask about mid lane, but these are what I think is the best based on pick ban right now, win rate, and what I've seen over the past 4 months. Ahri, simple. I'm not going to spend so much time on mid lane, I'd say. Ahri, you can clear wave really easy. You can jump in and follow up your jungle ganks. You can jump in and do your own plays. Ahri has great roam potential, especially on teams that have no wards. I think Ahri is a great pick, but you have to be able to hit that charmer. You have to be able to hit that Q. Fizz is something that's very good when practiced. I think that Fizz can fail in lane quite hard against champions like Ahri and Orianna and Syndra. And, well, not Lulu as much, but I think that these champions can make Fizz have a real problem in lane. So practicing Fizz before you play him is really important, because Fizz can have a huge impact in the game because of the snowball potential of Fizz. Being able to hit the fish, I think, is really important to also be able to. Practicing Fizz, I think, is just the most important thing before you pick him. Fizz can wave clear, obviously. I think the items that you build on Fizz is completely game dependent. It's not like Ahri where you want to build Chalice every game. Fizz, you can build what you want every game. You can build Zhonya's first. You can build Lichbane first. You can build, well, not Rabadon's first, but you have a lot of options as Fizz. You don't have to build the same item every game. Orianna has always been a great pick because she deals a lot of damage, but she is also innately has a high utility. So, and high wave clear, obviously. Um, that ult is amazing with a lot of champions that I've listed off. So Malphite, Vi, Warwick. It's really easy to get an ult off as Orianna using these champions. I think mastering, now you don't need to master because you're silver, but being able to put your ball on your engagers and pressing ult as soon as they go in is what will make your team fights a lot easier as Orianna. I think she has great dragon control compared to Ahri and Fizz and Zed, because I think that her ult is game changing and her AoE is a lot more consistent than, say, Zed. Syndra, I think that she's basically an Orianna with a less effective ult. She's a more carry focused champion than Orianna, but she functions exactly the same. I'd say less. I mean, a more carry focused champion than Orianna. Her ult basically insta-kills someone, so unless they have a Zillion or a Zanya's, Syndra will absolutely fuck up the enemy. Being able to hit your stun is important on Syndra. Being able to hit your stun when you're getting ganked is even more important, I'd say, because when you're getting ganked, being able to hit that stun is basically life or death. Whereas Orianna Orianna or Ziggs have options to get out. They have the Ziggs jump. They have the Orianna shield and the getting away mechanic from her W, or the slowing mechanic from her W. Or the Orianna's ult can also get her away. Syndra is riskier than Orianna, but basically plays the same role. Her ult is really effective in dragon fights because it can secure you dragon by insta-killing their jungle. It can secure you the team fight by insta-killing their carry. It just depends who you use your ult on. Zed is basically an AD version of Fizz. He requires a lot of practice. He has a lot of very good roam potential. He deals AD damage. I put Zed twice in this list, apparently. Great job. Zed's Q is a great poke tool. I think a lot of these champions in the list that I put don't have as good poke as Zed, except for probably Ziggs and Lulu. Zed's Q goes through minions, so it makes it great for poking in lane, which sets up his kills really well. I think Fizz, Syndra, Ahri, and Zed are really good at setting up their kills in lane. I think they can all deal damage before they go in for the all-in, and Zed is basically an AD version of these other champions. He can go for all-ins, he can roam, he can clear wave. Not as well as Syndra and Orianna, but he can still clear wave. Ziggs, I think the Ziggs is a really good pick for silver. I think he's an absolute horrible pick for gold, platinum, and plus. I think Ziggs is so good because you can clear those waves. No matter how shit you are, no matter how far behind you are, 2 Qs will almost always insta-kill a wave. And those 2 Qs can really slow down an enemy's snowballing. And being able to counter that snowball is really, really good at Ziggs, because countering snowball is something that a lot of players don't know how to do, and Ziggs makes it easy, basically, because you can stall out a game for those late game team comps. So say you have that Rise top, you've got that Tristana bot lane. Ziggs is good to pick because it means that your team can get to that late game no matter how much not no matter how much, but if you fuck up that dragon fight at 20 minutes, if you fuck up that top lane by getting ganked 4 times and dying 3, Ziggs can stall that out. I think Ziggs is also a lot better team fighter than any of these other champions on the list. Maybe even better than Orianna. Orianna's ult makes it very easy to pull off team fights, but Ziggs' AoE just makes it really hard for silver players to position correctly. They will often take way too much damage from his AoE. Akali is a champion that I've seen a lot of pick ban right now. Obviously, I haven't played as much, so I cannot say how good Akali is. I just think I see that she has a lot of pick ban. And I'm assuming because all these other champions have gotten nerfed so much, Akali is getting picked because she can deal so much damage and get in and out. Her buffs to her W, I don't know how much that changed her, but I'm sure she's getting picked because of her damage potential and nothing else. She is a riskier version of Fizz with no wave clear, basically. I'm just saying she's a good pick because her win rate and her pick and ban, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Lulu is the same thing as top, good wave clear, good damage. Obviously, you can get into those dragon fights and be really effective. And most important thing about Lulu is that she peels. She provides a lot of CC, like Oriana, but she can peel as well as dealing CC. She doesn't need to save her ult to get that crucial damage off. She can obviously save her ult for your Amumu combo or your Malphite combo, but she can also save that to save your AD carry or peel for your AD carry. Kennen, I think Kennen is a really good pick. He is a lane bully. This is really important in Silver. He didn't have a good wave clear, but I think being able to bully your opponents out of lane early and get into a solid mid game with your Zhonya's, I think Zhonya's is really important. You need to get Zhonya's on Kennen by at least 25 minutes. This makes your team fight really easy because say you've got that Gnar. Your Kennen can dash in with that E, flash, ult. That is instant team fight win if you can get that the like 3-man stun with a Gnar ult or with a Leona ult. Kennen is obviously energy, which gives you potential to build jungles that need a lot of mana. So someone like a Mumu is great with Kennen because of their combo potential, but also a Mumu's ability to power farm because he will always have access to blue buff. Or if you want to pick a top laner that can often benefit from that blue buff, like Lulu or Nidalee, Kennen can allow that because he's not AD. Obviously, Akali and Zed do the same thing, but I had not thought about it previously. Those green picks are also champions that I think do better in other roles. They don't have a place in the mid lane, to be honest. Tristana is a troll pick. Don't pick that shit. AD carry. I think the AD carry is a very important position in Silver because a lot of players play it really incorrectly. And so taking certain picks will allow you to deal damage even if you're not the best at positioning or you're not the best at last hitting. So I think the damage is obviously the most important part about an AD carry because they're going to get into the late game and deal a shit ton of damage, and that shit ton of damage needs to be dealt. So protecting AD carries is important, but also AD carry playing correctly is important. So taking champions that can farm easy so you can get to that late game, taking champions that have dashes or jumps, position fixing skills, basically are a lifeline for players that don't have great positioning. Obviously, you want a champion that has high attack speed or someone like Lucian where you can use your skills to get high attack speed. This high attack speed doesn't just get you kills, but it gets you objectives. Because people in Silver are slower at rotating, you can easily get only half the damage you would with an attack speed item on a tower. So say you are playing Vayne and all you have is a Bloodthirster. You're going to deal no damage to that tower, but then you have a Jinx, on the other hand, that has a Zeal. That Zeal is going, plus her passive, is going to burn towers a lot faster. So as the enemy team is running back to their tower to protect it, you can deal a lot more damage. Or if you push them out of lane, you can take their tower a lot faster. So I think champions that can clear objectives fast are also really good for Silver players. Crit damage, I think there's no point in building Bloodthirster. I see a lot of Silver players bitch and moan at me about how they think Bloodthirster is still good. Just don't build that shit. It's not good. In the way this game's designed right now, you want to build Infinity Edge pretty much every single game. Very certain circumstances you don't need to build Infinity Edge, but almost all AD carries benefit from building Infinity Edge first or second. Having a mid-game power spike, I think, is really important for Silver players because Sometimes games do get out of hand and they don't get to that 35 minute mark. And so picking someone like Vayne or Kog'Maw and just sitting down bot lane and farming for 25 minutes won't really do you that good. It's a lot better to have champions like Lucian and Corki that can have a big impact at 25 minutes because there's the way they scale is a lot faster than Vayne and Kog'Maw, but they don't deal as much damage in the late game, obviously. Onto tier list. I wasn't really sure about some of these because I know that these are very good picks in Platinum, but I decided to put Twitch and Sivir up to good picks. So Lucian is a god. He's been a god for a while. His ult nerf hasn't made him that bad, except in higher levels of play, where he can't clear waves so easy. Yeah, you just want to build crit damage on him, pretty much the same as all these other top picks. I think that it's really important to practice your Q with Lucian, as getting good Qs off will allow you to control the lane a lot easier. Corki, I think Corki is a harder version of Lucian. He deals poke damage. No, he's not anything like Lucian. What am I talking about? He deals AP damage, and he has poke. So, Corki is very interesting on his own because his Q is a great wave clear mechanic. His ult is a great wave clear mechanic. But his ult is also a great poke mechanic. And using your ult correctly with Triforce, as well as remembering your stacks on your ult, is really important. Being able to use your ult is really, really good as Corki. You want to be able to hit those ults to poke people out of their tower so you get the opportunity to tower dive or push. Or you want to use that ult in lane to snipe down someone's HP so they have to keep on spamming their heal is Nami and then they go That could be the difference between you getting a tower dive or not. Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn is probably the best laning AD carry other than Lucian for silver players. Her range and her ease of use make it really easy for Caitlyn to farm, basically, just to farm. You need to farm as Caitlyn, and you need to either push the wave in with wards or zone them out by only last hitting. And Caitlyn basically can make a lane hell for the enemy team. So, if you're not picking Lucian or Corki, I think Caitlyn is a great pick otherwise. Jinx, I think Jinx is probably the most unique on this list other than Sivir. I think that Jinx clear towers incredibly fast, and that's her biggest asset in Silver. If you can push the enemy team out of lane with poke, or you can get the enemy team back because of a jungle gank, you don't even have to kill them in that jungle gank. Jinx will clear those towers incredibly fast, even in the early game. Her passive at level 3 is, the passive from her Q is incredibly powerful. It will allow you to take towers really, really fast, and be able to take your bot lane tower and rotate up to dragon at 15 minutes, or rotate up to mid at 15 minutes is great. As long as you're hitting those last hits, obviously. You don't want to leave lane until you have about Infinity Edge. Twitch is kind of hard to play, but I still think he's very powerful. The reason why I think Twitch is really good in Silver is not because he deals a lot of damage. It's because people have horrible positioning in Silver, and your ult will do a lot of damage to players that aren't really focused on killing Twitch or can't get to Twitch because you have a good front line. And often their carries will get in the way of your ult, or their carries will be in range of your ult. So Twitch is a great team fighting AD carry. I think he's better for team fights than these other champions, except for maybe Jinx. Um, so Twitch, not a strong laner. You need to be careful in the lane, but I still think he's a very powerful pick for those Dragon Baron fights and for other team fights, but those are the most common team fights. Sivir, I think, is probably someone that no one's really picking right now in Silver because of her range. Her range is really deceivingly small, but it's not really. Her Q and her W make it very easy to clear wave. So playing Sivir is not that hard, other than if you're versus a Caitlyn or a Lush. I guess all these other top picks kind of do give Sivir trouble in lane, so picking a good support that can protect Sivir and let her get that farm is really good. Sivir's strength, I think, in some players is that a lot of players overextend, so it's really easy to escape a Sivir. And on the other hand, a lot of enemies push you in really hard. And being able to use Sivir's ult in conjunction with any jungler or any mid laner or any support makes it a lot easier for them to catch up to the enemy team despite them having flash. So Sivir is basically you pick her for the ult, and her spell shield is something that can prevent certain supports from getting out of hand. It's like a Thresh or a Blitzcrank or a Leona ult. You can block that, obviously. Bad picks, I think this is one thing I actually need to talk about. A lot of people are picking Vayne and Ezreal in Silver. They are high mechanical. I'd say they're not as high mechanical as Draven, but they're on the same level of Draven as you need to practice them a lot before you pick them, and they are not forgiving. Vayne and Ezreal do not clear wave fast, so you can't fuck up your lane too hard. If you're playing Vayne and Ezreal, you can't be missing your Qs as Ezreal. You can't be tumbling ineffectively. Tumble puts you in the middle of the battle. You need to use that effectively to deal damage. If you're not dealing damage effectively with Tumble, you're just dodging skills and you're just running away. That's what makes Vayne players bad. You need to be able to kite your opponent's Vayne, which is very hard because orb walking or stutter stepping is not something I see a lot in Silver. So I prefer if players do not pick Vayne or Ezreal. Support. Okay, I played support a lot, and I'd say my opinion's probably really solid on this topic. I think Engage, other than Janna's power right now, is the most important thing for a support. If you can start fights for your team, you can create picks, you can start those team fights, you can hit someone when a gank is about to happen with a Thresh hook. That will allow you to snowball a game. Snowballing game is really easy when you can make plays, and picking champions that don't have as much play potential as Thresh or Leona or I'm not sure who else I put on this, but you'll see, is really, really important. So pick potential, engage potential, crowd control. That's where Janna comes in. She is great at peeling. She's an absolute god at peeling. That's why I put her on this list at the top. And these champions also crowd control offensively. So someone like Leona will be able, if your AD carry is caught out, she can peel by hitting that Q stun on them, or she can go in and hit the Q stun on the enemy. Having a lot of crowd control in your kit is something I think is really important in support, because support needs to be going in or needs to be peeling, not dealing damage. Lane control, I think that a lot of these picks that I put at the top have very good lane control. They make it safe for your AD carry to lane. Obviously, Leona is not the case, but I think that's an exception I'll talk about later. Item diversity supports are great because they are not set on one item path every game. They have a big variety of items that can be built in any order. Obviously, you want to build your gold item first in most cases, and your sightstone, but after that, you can build what the situation needs. Um, and roam potential. I think that this is a really important thing that Silver needs to start doing. When you're winning a lane bot, you can leave your AD carry bot just to farm. Depending who they're against, obviously. If they're Vayne, you can't leave them there because they'll get shit on. But if they're a Caitlyn, you can leave them there to farm. Or if they don't want to, they can come mid with you after you've won that bot lane. And coming mid as a support can have a huge impact on the game because you can get that kill, you can get that tower, you can get that kill, you can get that dragon after. And basically, you can't just sit bot when you're winning. You have to be able to make an impact on the other side of the map. That's obviously this is one at a certain point. You can't leave bot lane when your AD carry has no farm or no items. Okay, these are my top picks. Leona is the only pick on here that doesn't have safe laning. I think that she's a top pick basically because her ult is another Malphite ult. And her EQ combo is basically a Jarvan EQ with better hit detection. And she basically engages for your team. She makes it possible to catch people out at a very long distance. So you can get that flash Leon ult, or you can get that flash EQ and get in range for your whole team to follow up on that shit. Thresh has been a very good pick forever. He's a lane bully. Everyone knows what he does at this point. He lanterns to save people. He can hook to start a fight. Learning how to use your flay effectively is really important. It's not an easy skill to use, but you need to practice as Thresh using your flay to pull an enemy into you. It's very easy to fuck that up, so practicing that is really good. Despite Morgana's nerfs, I think she's still a great pick in Silver because she is a counter to a lot of team comps, as people do not want to dive on Morgana, who has Azanias. On the other hand, Morgana makes it easy for your team to engage because her Q has such a long stun time. Also, her shield, is very good at basically countering hard engage. If the enemy team wants to get on you, they need to have someone that can break the spell shield, or they need someone that can hit the CC fast enough that a Morgana cannot spell shield. It is really easy for your team to basically prevent losing by black shielding high CC skills. Janna is really strong right now because all the other supports have been nerfed over the time, and her strength is basically making your lane a joke because you cannot kill Janna in lane unless you get ganked, but you cannot kill a Janna and her laner in lane if you know what you're doing. You just kind of sit there and farm and shield everything out. And you get to the mid game, and Janna is amazing at letting your team run fast, letting your team shield poke, letting your team push with her Q, letting her team live with her ult. Janna has a lot of versatility in her kit. She's just not offensive. She gives a lot of things to a team, as in she can keep the enemy carries off of your carry, while she can still do a lot of other things, like shielding your front line, or she just does a lot, basically. She's really powerful because all the other supports have been nerfed over time, and Janna is still quite a huge threat. Nami has been nerfed a lot, but I think that she's still a great pick. She is kind of like a mix of Sona and Janna put together. Nami has Sona's heal, Nami has Sona's ult, but Nami also has Janna's peel. You don't want to use a Sona ult to protect your team. You want to use your Sona ult to attack the team. Nami's ult is not a Sona ult. You need to use Nami's ult to protect your team and prevent them from engaging. Nami's ult can be used offensively once you've laid down other CC, like a bubble or like a Malphite ult, just as an example. Her Q is what makes her a engager. Her Q has a very long range. It's hard to hit, but when you hit that Q, it is very easy for your team to follow up on it. It's basically a Morgana Q that is harder to use. But on the other hand, she has disengaged, which Morgana does not. I don't think there's anything I need to say about bad picks other than don't pick Blitzcrank. Just because you think you're good at Blitzcrank, you are not. If you are Silver, if you were really good at Blitzcrank, you would not be Silver, because he has a playmaking support that has one function, and that is to press his Q and nothing else. So don't pick Blitzcrank. He's a worse version of Thresh, to be honest. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to. I will release more videos in the future, including a shorter version of this video. I don't know why I'm telling you this at the end, but oh well. Thanks for watching.